environment for the kids. So in order to sell the house, I had to lay out to her how she could have the adults, the kids' play area, you know, the common area, the food area and stuff. And once she felt comfortable with that, that was the only thing she needed to know to buy that house, is how to handle
right.
that.
That was an obstacle that
You know?
you, just by defining the space and helping her see it in a light that she probably didn't see it as, you
Right.
you basically set that wonderful standard of, this is the opportunity, you can make this happen.
But if I hadn't asked her
But
why,
if you didn't
she
know
probably
why,
back there,
exactly,
then you
I
would
never
have
would
been
have
able
known.
to.
Never would have known.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
guys, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
And clients change their minds all the time.
That's
You know,
true.
you can go, you sit down and, you know, you've wants and your versus needs, and then, you know, this happens to me almost every single time. I'll sit down and we'll talk about, you know, the different types of homes and their wants and their needs, and then we'll get into the home and they'll change their criteria. Maybe the wife will walk into the master bedroom and go, oh, it doesn't have walk-in closets. You know, I have 180 pairs of shoes. You know, I need a lot of, you know, room. You know, or we'll get into, you know, the garage, and the husband will go, oh, wow, you know, I spend 90% of my time in the garage. There's only one car garage. I can't do this.
It's not going to work.
You know. So, and then the other thing is, at buyer consultation, I'll ask, is there any furniture that we are that we're building a home, or not building a
Good
home,
question.
but you know,
Yeah.
finding a home around? Because I'll tell you, I have a 100-year-old big piece of furniture, a buffet that goes with the table,
that you're not getting
and
rid of.
I'm not getting rid of. So I need a wall that would have to go on. So I always think about it that way too. And then, you know, sometimes clients will come with, you know, huge furniture for bedroom furniture. And, you know, if we know, you know, by seeing one home that, you know, the master bedroom's a 9x9, and, you know, their bed won't even fit in there, well, we can eliminate some of the homes that way unless they're willing to get rid of that.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
you go in and they've got the great big bedroom furniture and the stair goes like this. And you're going, are you willing to crane in your furniture through
Or
the window?
take it apart, yeah.
Right.
Because you got to figure that out for them. You know, you have to figure out if
Those are
that's
things
the
sometimes
criteria.
they
you
don't
know.
take into consideration.
They may not be thinking about getting it there, just
Yeah.
will it fit in that room, you
Yeah.
know.
It's funny.
So, yeah.
So I'm hearing in the buyer consultation from what you guys are saying, it sounds almost like a foundational process that you must go through when building a relationship with those clients or those potential clients. And I've heard things like building trust, setting expectations, going deeper on what their wants and needs are, because we all know that even a size of a yard is different perception for everybody. So I might think it's a 1/3 acre for a large yard, you might think it's a half, whatever. So there's different things that you have to set that criteria. And what I'm hearing from you is that it doesn't happen at the first visit. It shouldn't happen at the first visit, right?
It should.
So let me ask you, why do you feel that, or why do we see, it's evident, that a majority of the agents are not doing this very foundational process with their prospects, turning them into clients to go out and help them find their homes? Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think there's two things. One is they're afraid to ask for it.
Fear.
Okay. And the other is that they think there's going to be resistance on the client's part. Okay. But I want to find out if I'm going to be working with that buyer too. And, you know, we talked about that a little bit, but I go through a lot of buyer consultations and tell them, you know what, you know, if I can't get along with them in the buyer consultation, why would I want to be an escrow with that client? You know?
Exactly.
You gotta love your job, and if people make
Yeah.
it difficult, it's not worth the time.
So I think a lot of it is they're just afraid to ask for it, or they don't know how to ask for it.
Yeah.
You know, but Brian Buffini has a good quote, that if you don't do a buyer consultation, you're just wishing and hoping things will work out.
And I think that they don't understand, obviously, the value in it. If they haven't done it enough, or they haven't been trying it enough, that they don't realize what the value that buyer consultation has for their clients, for themselves, for the whole transaction from start to finish. Because when you're just going out there blind, you're just showing houses, you're hoping that they like you and that they want to, you know, work with you. Even if they do decide to work with you, you still have so much work ahead of you because you haven't set all those expectations, you haven't qualified them, you haven't found out what they're looking for, you don't know enough about them. And so when you you realize how successful it is once you do the buyer consultation and how much work you eliminate by doing the buyer consultation. You realize, I must do this with every client.
And for me, Sherilyn, it never fails. If I don't do a
Absolutely.
buyer consultation, it doesn't end well
It doesn't.
90% of the time, you know. And then, you know, I think in the traditional, you know, non-zip traditional real estate is a little bit different too. Just because, you know, they're, you know, getting maybe one
They
lead
hang
or-
on.
and they hang on and they, you know,
Right.
but with zip, we have more opportunity because we are receiving, you know, leads from the company in addition to our own sphere of influence. So we can kind of, you know, help, you know, narrow down and, you know, we don't have to work with every single lead that comes to us. It would be nice, you know, if we could, but sometimes, you know, just in my own experience, like I said, you know, I want to find out, are they a real buyer? Because I'd rather spend my time digging into my sphere of influence or even into the Zap platform, looking and prospecting and you know, finding viable clients versus being a tour guide and, you know.
That are a good match for you and that
Exactly.
you're a good match for them. Why work with somebody that doesn't want to work with you? So it's good to find that out right away instead
Right.
of wasting that time.
And many times I've, you know, sat at a buyer consultation and said, you know what, let me get you to Mike Campbell, or let me get you to X agent, because, you know, they really know that area
Right.
a lot better, even though, you know, it just may be the fact that I didn't think our personalities collided. But, you know, and I'd never say, or try and hurt anyone's feelings and say, you know, our personalities won't match. But I might say, you know, maybe I don't know the area that you're looking in, you know, as well as Mr. Campbell. Let me get you over to my partner,
Right.
you know, so that we don't lose the business, but we still
It's a
have.
better match.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
better match.
So I'm getting back to your question. I didn't used to do buyer consultations, you know, 3 years ago. And then I started, you know, partnering with Daisy as the team leader on the grain thing, and she used to beat me up for not doing buyer consultations.
I didn't beat you up.
And
But I heard you like those sort of things.
so I started doing buyer consultations and then realized how foolish I was
For not doing that.
for not doing them before.
Well, let me
Because,
ask you,
You know,
Daisy.
when you start,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you do them sporadically. You do, well, I'll do one with this guy, but oh, I won't do one with that guy. And again, every single time that I didn't do one, I had problems.
And
It's called standards.
I didn't do them in the very first couple of years of my career either, just because no one had ever told me you must do them. And then I had a mentor that was closing, you know,
Tons
40
and tons of
homes
deals.
a month, you know, and tons,
Something.
not a month, but a year. Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? So she said, why don't you follow me? So I followed her around one day, and then that's where I learned the scale of 1 to 10. And then she said, let me follow you on a home tour. And she followed me on a home tour, and I hadn't done a buyer consultation, and I showed up at the house with all my little documentation, and I'm standing in the kitchen, you know, all excited because, you know, my arms are flaring, and the client is just kind of like this. And afterwards, you know, the mentor said to me, you know, you really need to be doing a buyer consultation before you get to the home, because number one, you scared the crap out of that buyer, and number two, they weren't listening to you.
Yeah.
They just wanted to see the home.
Right.
You know, so, and from then on, I always did a buyer consultation, and I'll tell you what, I have seen my business, you know, I'm working smarter and not harder. So we're, you know, prior those first couple of years, I would show, you know, 4 or 5 different prospects' homes, where now I can do a buyer consultation and decide out of those 4 or 5 who are the, you know, top clients that I want to work with,
Right.
you know, and narrow down, you know, the amount of, you know, work, because you're going to get burnt out. You just show up and, you know, just show homes. And again, it's not about what you say, it's how you
Well,
say
that brings
it.
up a question. Let's say you talk to the buyer on the phone, and you satisfied yourself that they're viable as far as financially, and that they have a pretty good idea of what they're doing, but their time frame is 6 to 7 or 8 or 9 months out. Will you still do a buyer consultation with that client?
Absolutely.
Because like Tina says, I work on your timeline. I work in your timeline. And that's reassuring to them, but you wanna basically get in front of them as soon as you can to earn their loyalty so that when they are ready, they call you.
Well, not only that, but what if you do that buyer consultation and 2 days later, someone's, you know, the criteria changes and they need a home not 6 months from now, but they need it in 3 months.
And you're the person that they're gonna pick up the phone, but also that you qualify them. So we always say we wanna make sure that they're somebody that we wanna work with. If you don't find that out now and you're, sitting on properties for 6 months and you have this expectation that, when they're ready, that you're gonna be, their agent, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't want you to be my client.
Or then you get an email from them, 6 months down the road. Oh, I bought a house 3 months ago. Wow. So I always say to clients, I would love the opportunity to earn your business. I am here to help you, not push you. Whatever it is you need, I am willing and happy to do, as long as it's ethical, of course, but I would love the opportunity to earn your business. And when I call a client up on the phone and they say, oh, I'm just browsing, I'm really ready, or I was looking for my brother or whatever, I always say, great, you know what, I'm here to help. I want the opportunity to earn your business. That's, what most of my clients are saying about me is they love the fact that, I'm willing to work for, the client and not just,
Yourself.
for myself. And I love my career. I don't consider what I do a job. You love what you do when you wake up every morning and
you're
excited about it, and you need to show that to the clients too.
Well, I think if you're going to be in real estate, you have to love what you do, or you have to be very masochistic on it too.
No, you have to love what you do, because it comes across to your clients. If you're resenting, something about them, that's why it's important that you qualify them to make sure you're a good fit, because if you're not, it's going to come out. They're going to feel that. They're going to, I've made that mistake before where I'm like, I'm just going to, I'm going to give them I'm going to give them my best representation, and hopefully they're going to, but they knew it all, and their expectations were too high, and I felt like eventually they would learn. But they didn't, and I resented them for it, and I regret that, because it's not good for them, it's not good for me. And so it comes across when when you're just like, I'm not happy to go to work today, I don't want to show them homes. I'm not, it just...
Yeah, energy transfers. And don't be afraid to fire. I'm not afraid to fire a client either if I, realize that, they are just draining me dry mentally,
It's not good for them either, because you're not motivated to, to be there 100% with the direction that they're going in. So it's best for everybody that you just cut your ties and wish them the best.
Right, and then what happens when you get, sorry Mike, and then what happens when you get into escrow with clients like that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a nightmare. I was watching House Hunters the other day, and sorry, I know this is a little much, but yes, I was on vacation watching House Hunters. Anyway, I was watching House Hunters, and this lady had gotten into escrow and absolutely disliked her realtor, and halfway through the escrow fired the realtor and had to bring in another agent to finish up the transaction. And I've seen that happen with other agents. Thank goodness it's never happened for me, but I've seen it happen with other agents. And this should be, the home buying process should be the happiest time of that person's life. They shouldn't, have this negative cloud, and then as soon as they move in their home, it was such a, negative, the whole 9 yards, and it just shouldn't be that way. So.
Well, when you do a good buyer consultation, it's the same kind of thing on a listing presentation, side of it. I mean, we just went to a seminar and the guy was talking about, you go into, you do a market analysis and you find out that there's 5 things that person has to do to sell the home. And you sit down with them and you go, you have to do this, you have to price it at this, you have to do this. And the guy says, I'm not going to do 1, I'll do maybe half of 2, I won't do 3 or 4, and I'm not going to do 5. And you take the listing anyway, okay? Even though there's no chance of success, okay? Well, the same thing.